right, like when I was a teenager, that one day I would be friends and I'll be interviewing Rui En, I have to pinch myself.
Really? Did you watch my dramas growing up?
I did.
You did.
I did. Who didn't?
I don't know.
Everybody did.
But yeah, I'm so happy to be able to finally do this with you.
Thank you so much for being here.
No, I'm happy too.
Thank
I
you,
think
thank
that
you.
there are certain mediums where you can share quite unabashedly.
Yeah.
There are certain mediums that are actually a little bit better for sharing
Yeah.
longer stories. And I feel like this is
Yes.
a little bit better. Because IG Reels, my mental health, 90 seconds.
Yeah. We want to deep dive, like really deep dive with you.
Yes,
in
let's
this
do
episode.
it. Let's do it.
Okay, so that day during dinner, what I was so happy and consoled to know when I had dinner with you
Yes.
is that you actually scored worse than me for Chinese. You got F9.
What did you get?
C6.
I got F9 in Raffles Junior College
Whoa.
for my first attempt at A-level Mandarin Chinese.
Oh, okay lah. So you already in RJ lah.
I already in RJ.
Okay.
But I had to pass in order to go to uni.
Got it.
And so I retook it and I got C6. Okay, let me go back. Because actually a lot of people don't know this story.
Okay.
A lot of people, they watch Channel 8 and they're like, 哎呀，他的华语很好，
Yeah.
他的中文很好。
Yeah.
But it wasn't always like that.
Okay.
I came from schools and a family background that only speak English. So, ang mo pai.
Yes.
None of them speak Chinese.
Yes.
And all of us kind of struggle in school with Mandarin. I get to RJC and I was like playing a lot, I was partying a lot at that point. And I get F9
Okay.
for my first try at Mandarin.
Yeah.
And I have to pass after that in order to go to uni. So I redid it and I got C6 lah. I just passed lah. And at that point, I told myself, I'm never going to have to speak Mandarin ever again. Throw away everything that I've learned because I do not want to speak Mandarin ever again.
Uh-oh.
And then guess what happened?
Actually, that's a perfect segue to my first question, which is
Oh.
how on earth did you get started in this industry?
Okay.
So it was right there where you're like, okay, bye Mandarin.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm never going to speak Mandarin again.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Then how? Then what happened?
Okay, I had been doing, that was in JC, right?
Yeah.
So after JC, at that point of time, did I start it before? Okay, I was doing part-time modeling. Okay, my timelines are a bit off, but I was doing part-time modeling.
Okay.
I was doing it for the money. I actually had no intention to join entertainment industry.
Oh.
I was just like, okay, look, this is good money. It's fun posing for photos and videos. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not a planner. I'm type A, but I'm not a long-term planner. So I did the Singtel ad and for some reason, a lot of people remembered it. And it just made a very big impact on a lot of people. I'm not sure why. And then I got discovered from that ad. Like the company that used to manage me called me down for audition. And then that was that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what made you go like, okay, I'm going to do like Chinese programs?
Oh, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't me.
Right.
It was just simply, that's what your management company does,
Yeah.
which is that, look, the market is Chinese. The Chinese market is bigger. And so we are going to record an album. We are going to push you into Channel 8. And that was it.
So how was it like to get back into all of it?
Oh my gosh, it was horrific.
So
Like,
really,
it was
literally the
horrific.
Hanyu Pinyin script, that kind of thing.
Hanyu Chinese dictionary. Last time don't have smartphone one.
Oh, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
must flip Chinese dictionary, the big thick red
Yeah,
color one.
yeah.
And flip dictionary. I actually had Chinese lessons for a period of time with a Chinese teacher. Didn't really seem to help. So it was just actually when you talk about it and I look back at it, it's amazing I survived that because it was such a challenge, you see.
Yeah.
It was such a challenge for me and it's so hard when you have a lot to express but can't.
Exactly. So, I don't have a lot of acting experience, but
Yeah.
when I did try my hand at it, right, to me, to do it in English already, you have sort of that comprehension of the language. You can express and you can act a lot
Sure.
better, or at least that's how I felt.
Okay.
When I tried, because I was in MediaCorp for a while, right, when I did try the Mandarin acting, wow, I really cannot. So you really put in just a lot of blood, sweat and tears to...
It really was. So actually it took me, if I look back, it took me 10 years of that to actually get comfortable with Mandarin.
10 years.
It wasn't an overnight thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was really a baptism of fire. It was really rough.
Yeah.
But it was something that if you put in the effort, you can get better at it.
Yeah.
The thing that I really struggled with was, this one, I think I still have PTSD from this.
Why?
Releasing the Mandarin album in Taiwan and having to do promo activities in Mandarin.
Is it because you were still
at a point
young?
No, it was just that we had an album going.
Okay.
They wanted to release it in Taiwan. And when you release it there, you need to do promo.
Yeah.
That one, I really have memories of feeling so helpless and literally, going on the Taiwanese variety shows and just feeling like a complete idiot. Because you can't express yourself. I feel like I have trauma from that. But at that point in time, I was really just trying my best and giving it my all. I think there is something about youth that when you look back, you're just like, how did I even survive that? But there's something about youth where you're just like very chong.
Yes.
Like you think you're invincible and hence you're more or less invincible.
Yeah. So how long have you been an actor?
Okay, so I had to do a bio the other day
okay.
and I realized that it was 23 years, 24 years.
Wow.
So basically the singing and acting started around the same time.
Okay.
Around the same year.
Yes.
And so it's been 23, I think 24.
Like
there.
At which point do you roughly go like, okay, I'm starting to get hang of it. I think I can continue or I'm good at acting or being, I don't know, in the media industry. Yeah.
I would definitely say from the 10-year.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, so for everyone who's watching and younger,
yes,
right?
Yeah,
you have to put in that.
Yeah, I unfortunately I wish that life was like social media. I wish that life is like technology. But to get good at something, to get really good at something, takes time.
Yeah,
and don't try to hack it. Don't try to biohack it. Don't try to, all of this stuff. Like it just. There's no substitute for hard work.
Yeah.
And persistence and perseverance, even though you want to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was like researching a little bit, right,
Yes.
I read like a few years ago you shared with Straits Times that you grew up in SCGS. And then you very like vulnerably shared that you felt that you went to a school when you were in the wrong socio-economic status. And I hardcore related with that because I was from ACS, right?
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, either they are all very rich or I'm very poor.
Okay.
Turns out it's both true.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in the interview also you shared about being from a home of divorced parents. Yeah. So I guess my next question is a very big question, but what was it like to be Rui En growing up?
Well, there's so many aspects of that. But let's go with the school bit first since you asked that.
Yeah.
I definitely felt out of place. But as I've like grown up, by the way, I still consider myself to be growing up, like at this age.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll continue growing up till the day I die.
Yes.
So as I grow up, I realize that I also do have a tendency to there is this rebel side to me.
Yes.
That tends to see myself as kind of like not fitting in with a lot of places, right? But I have this knowledge now. I have this self-awareness right now. But when I was in SEJS, I definitely felt like, okay, first of all, I'm not from that kind of economic background. And so I really did feel quite out of place, quite sort of like I never fit in. So how was it like growing up as Rui En? It was angsty and lonely. I was a rather angsty kid, with all the teenage angst.
Yeah.
And I was also, because I'm an only child.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's lonely. It's kind of lonely, especially if your parents aren't getting along. And so I actually have this theory that this is actually one of the things that made my acting what it was, simply because I had to live in a world of make-believe.
Wow.
In order to survive, in order to not crumble.
Wow.
I have this theory.
Okay.
There are other like factors as well, but I do feel like having to escape my reality, having to escape when my parents were fighting, definitely did lead to me being very good at make-believe. And hence,
Yeah.
to be an actress. Yeah.
So I didn't come from a home where they were active. My parents were
Yeah.
actively fighting.
I'm aware.
But what was it like for you as a child? Meaning you had to take sides, you had to manage, you had to be wary of your parents' emotions.
I have to put a caveat here that my purpose is really not to bash my parents.
Of
Like
course.
my purpose is not to not honor my parents.
Of course.
But just to sort of like let other people who are probably going through the same thing know that they're not alone now. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there is no desire to dishonor my parents.
Of course.
What was it like? I think I was walking on eggshells a lot because my dad at that point had a very explosive temper. And, they were trying to like work the marriage out, and like the smallest thing could set him off. And so I would just be very careful. I would be walking on eggshells. I would definitely cherish the points where they're not fighting, because they weren't fighting constantly, right? There were moments of normalcy. There were moments of like, oh, we're actually a family, But I just remember feeling very alone, kind of, and not being able to make sense of all the emotions that come from having parents that don't get along. Like I would feel like I would need to side someone, and then when I do, I feel guilt. And then I go back to the other side, and then I feel guilt, and you're just like kind of torn
Wow.
into
Yeah.
many pieces.
Did you feel that you received enough parental investment to be nurtured when you were growing up?
Parental investment to be nurtured.
Because sometimes when you're from a broken home, right,
Yeah.
it feels like I am dealing with everybody's problem, but as a child, what I really need is like love, assurance, nurturing, and sometimes that part gets missed out on.
I will say that my parents did the best they could with what they had. And that's something that's very important for me to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Their generation is a generation where they don't talk about
Yeah.
difficult topics.
Yeah.
They don't even come like for example, if someone was going through a divorce nowadays, they separately would go to the kids and they'll be like, hey, like, look, let me explain what's going on. And actually that's very, very beneficial. But you have to understand that our parents' era
Yeah.
was a very different era.
And I had this realization much later in life and after a lot of therapy, right? I can
yes.
imagine it's the same for you.
Same,
to say
same.
like, hey, my parents did the best they could with what they have, with what
Took
they
a
had,
while.
and I accept that, right?
Yes, it took a while.
Yeah.
It took a while. It's actually really for us,
Yeah.
that acceptance and that forgiveness. It's really not for them,
Correct.
because we are the ones that are carrying it like 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And at some point, you just have to go, okay,
Yeah.
I forgive and I let go and I accept that you guys did the best you could with what you had.
Any tips for people who are going through it?
Any tips on how to you haven't let go?
See, the thing is, I find like I let go incrementally, but there'll be...
Which is fine.
Yeah, then sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's still...
It's still there.
It's still there.
And that's fine.
I realize it's a practice.
It is
right?
a very intentional
Yes.
practice.
Yes.
Where you're like, okay, I need to let go
Yeah.
because it's too heavy for me.
Yeah. It's and the other thing about forgiveness is I didn't realize it's not about excusing, but it's like what you say, it's about putting the weight down.
It absolutely, yes.
Just choosing to put the weight down.
Yes.
So that we don't carry it.
Yeah.
I think even that definition to understand it that way helps a lot with forgiveness. Yeah.
It's more for yourself.
Yeah.
And I guess also, I don't know, for me, ultimately, it was all about like, why am I carrying this thing that is not meant for me to carry?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I've like been burdened with my whole life. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I need to let it go. But like you said, there are moments where something will trigger it,
Yeah.
or something will just poke you, right? And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So just now you mentioned, and again, I really relate with this, right? But what were some of the challenges you faced growing up in this environment, and how did you overcome?
Well, I was a very angry, angsty teenager. I was just angry with everything in general. I don't know whether it's a teenage angst thing,
Yeah.
but I was angry with God. I was angry with my parents.
Yeah.
I was just angry. And so I went through a phase of like rebellion, where I would just do anything that Actually, as I look back, I'm not sure whether my motivation was I just want to piss my parents off. But I'm not sure if that motivation was there, but I was just doing all this stuff, like, smoking and drinking and clubbing underage, that kind of a thing, sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night. I was doing all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that it was really kind of just a cry for help because I was angry. I was just angry.
You mentioned about being angry all the time when you were younger.
Yes.
A lot of times, right, anger is like a masking emotion to paste over something else. What was under that for you?
Grief. Yeah. Grief.
Why?
That my parents were not, that we didn't have a perfect family, that we didn't have a happy family, that we had to live like that. I think it's grief.
Whoa. So to somebody who is watching and they may relate with any of the experiences you've shared already today, what would you say to them, going through it? They don't have the decade of the 40 hindsight yet. What would you say to them?
I will say that there are moments that you will feel like it's never going to get better. And in those moments, you are going to feel like all hope is lost. And there is no way forward. There is nothing good is going to ever come out of this. And I will say that if you can just hold on for a little bit longer, that you will see it can be turned around. When you are young, you kind of don't have a sense of perspective, right? You don't have the benefit of like for example, I'm in my 40s now and I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, something that was so big at that point in time that I thought wouldn't be able to survive. I did. And in fact, I flourished, right? Yeah. So young people don't have this sense of perspective, which is why our suicides are going up, right? Because we do live in a very high pressure kind of a society, especially academically. And so I want to say to everybody, that it will pass. It will pass. It doesn't feel like it will. It will. You just have to hang on. Yeah. And it always will pass.
Yeah.
Everything will pass, the good times and the bad times. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing
just the
that.
way it is, yeah.
So in the industry, you are known to have very strong personal convictions.
Yes.
How did you develop those convictions and have they served you well, not well throughout the years?
I think after a while in the industry, it was very clear what was uncomfortable for me and what was not. I've always felt that as a public figure, I'm literally public property, I've talked about body shaming on my mental health reels, and literally I get like people at Kopitiam like yelling out to me, things like uncles and aunties. I think they might have been half drunk but public property in that sense.
Yeah.
And I always feel that it is imperative for me to keep certain things to myself, just for myself, right? I've always felt very uncomfortable doing like kissing and intimate bed scenes, much less rape. That is just another topic altogether.
Yeah.
And so very like earlier on, after some time in the industry, I decided like, look, hey, I would not want to do these scenes. If you are able to, can you please write it out, or like, we can film it in a different way. Yeah. The funny part about this is that there were two other male artists, veteran, I think maybe one or two, that also had this condition about
great.
No kissing scenes.
Okay.
But I felt that I was vilified for it as a woman because I was a woman. And when you're vilified for something like that, the words are difficult, demanding, diva, right? But I was just like, look, these other veterans also have the same condition. They also don't do kissing scenes, and there have always been double standards lah.
Yeah.
Being a woman. That conviction was very clear, which is that I don't know why we have to portray female trauma on screen for this character to be liked, or for this character to be, for the audience to better sympathize with this character. So for me, that was a very clear no.
Yeah.
I don't want to sensationalize something that is
so traumatic.
Is trauma for so many people, and which has touched so many people and many women, right? So with regards to, can I take out my shoes?
Yeah, please. Can
Eh,
do whatever you want.
But you have to take out yours also.
Okay,
lah.
can.
But it's just that they say that you got hole in your sock.
I read that you said, right, you saw yourself in one scene and you were like,
I hated it. I hated it.
yeah. And you know what? It's still your body. You want to say it's your job, it's your whatever.
Exactly.
It's still your one body that you have. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a job, but
Yeah.
it's still your body. It's still your mouth,
Exactly.
your mind.
Yeah.
You can call it acting, but it's still your body
Yeah.
as that instrument.
Yes. And so a lot of people had a lot of opinions about this condition that I had. I've had to push down, not push down,
Turn down jobs.
turn down jobs, where they were just like, look, we really need you to do this kissing scene. And to me, it was just like, well, then doesn't that make the kissing scene a bit more important than having me in your show?
Ooh.
And so that has happened.
Yeah.
And till today, it's still in place, this condition of mine.
Great. And has it served you well, do you think?
Very hard for me to say. Because I think that you gotta like do the plus and the minus. But I know that I got a lot of flack at that period of time because my career was on the rise and I was just like, look, I'm not gonna do this. And people are like, oh, so diva. So
That's crazy
difficult.
though. That's crazy.
I don't know. It's just the way, it's what you get when you're a woman.
But wouldn't it be the win that you go home and lay your head down to sleep and be like, hey, I held on to my convictions and my beliefs, my values.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And so that was intact for me.
Yeah.
But
that's so good.
a lot of people didn't agree with which is fine.
I want to really like highlight this point because I
Yeah.
think that when you are, I can only imagine when you're a woman, when you're young, when you're on the rise to success in a male-dominated industry or whatever, when there's pressure to do it, you have shown us that you can hold fast to your convictions,
Yes.
lose opportunity,
Yes.
but at least hold on to your values and be like, I can go to sleep at night being okay with myself.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
But just, I'm not going to paint it in fairy tale,
Yeah.
terms, is that there is a cost to that. There's no such thing as like, hey, look, I'm going to come out and have this condition that nobody agrees with and everything's going to be fine. No, that's not realistic.
Wow. Yeah.
So you have to be aware that there is a cost. Are you willing to pay that cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for showing us the way. No, really. Like I think there are many people who, when you're young especially, when you have a lot of people telling you what they think you should do,
Yeah.
I think it's worthwhile to own that voice and that conviction. Yeah. And I saw that in your career very young. It's still very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's enough about the past. In 2021, you left your previous artist management agency. So how was that transition to being independent now?
It has been a challenge. You have to understand that I was discovered by my management company at 19,
Yeah.
18? And so I've had management my entire career. And suddenly I don't have that anymore. It was very nerve-wracking. There were days that I didn't know which way was up, man. Because I'm trying to like learn everything that I don't know.
Right.
I'm realizing that, there is this, there's that to settle, and I'm doing it on my own.
Yeah.
So it has been quite a journey. 2021, right? So that's like 4 years.
Yeah. Was that the same time you came on social media?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Oh,
I
okay.
started-
I'm so curious about this. You've never been on social media.
Yeah.
What made you come on?
So I left my previous company.
Yeah.
And I started the IG at the same time.
Oh, I see.
What made me come on?
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be an actress. So I didn't want to just act.
Yeah.
And I felt that being very passionate about mental health, that if I could have a platform where I can help people feel less alone,
Yeah.
why not?
Totally.
Because I don't want to, at the end of the day, die and look back and be like, oh, well, I acted well in that. You understand? There has to be
Totally.
There has to be more. There has to be more of like an impact given the platform that I've been given.
Yeah. Yeah. I really relate. Because like I did 200 episodes of a food show. Then I was like, 你吃够了吗? Like you eat enough already or not?
200 episodes.
I did.
Wow.
And then this is why I'm doing stuff like this with you, because it's like
you want to have, there's some more purpose.
there's some more purpose.
Yeah.
And you know, when you came on social media, right, I was like, oh my God, I was fanboying so hard. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, your social media grew very fast, number one.
Okay.
But number two is like simply because like you said, right, I didn't, like for so many years, I just knew you as an actress.
Yes.
You came on and then you went like wild, really Wilder Seas 29.
I really did. Dude, I had no idea what I was doing.
Hey, but I love to see that side of you.
Okay, but I think it was very chaotic and messy.
Because it felt like, hey, Rui En suddenly becoming a host, a cook, everything. You were sharing like, and you were not just doing that for fun. It felt like you really enjoyed it, and that you were creating content with a lot of consistency, with a lot of purpose.
Yeah.
So, what were you up to? What was your thought process during that time? Or really just Wilder Seas?
Literally, Aiken, I had no clue what I was doing.
Wilder Seas
For
29.
the very first time, I'm doing something without the direction of like people on top of me, without advice, and I'm just like testing the waters. I'm like dipping my toe into the water.
Yeah.
And I do look back on that period and feel that it was incredibly chaotic.
But fun.
Because it was fun.
For the audience, very fun, by the way. Just need to assure you. I was like, oh my God, this is really who she is.
Without any like sort of like need to maintain an image or whatever it
without
is.
just being an actress.
Yes.
You know, it's like, oh, she loves, you know, talking to people. She loves doing all this fun content.
Yes,
she loves and owning that platform lah.
Yeah.
So to me, I felt like, wow, actually, she's a content creator already.
Right.
Legit. I'm not just saying this to, you know, say nice things, but I could feel the energy lah. And even till now, the way you handle your social media feels like you are not some elusive actress, but you are a friend. You whatever that's genuine, you will just post and all that.
I mean, I have to be a friend and I have to share vulnerably if I'm going to talk about mental health.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that it was that was like the initial year of
Damn
social
fun.
media. I was just trying to figure it out.
I wish I knew you then. Then I'll be like collab posts.
I just tried to figure it out and not knowing anything.
Yeah.
And sort of like getting multiple opinions from multiple different people. Like going that you shouldn't this, you should that, you shouldn't this, you should that. And after a while, you're just like...
Serious ah? I just thought, man, she's having so much fun and I love seeing that. Like I said, I think even now when we see you post your life and all that, it's just great that you're not some elusive character. You are really just...
Thank you.
She's just a friend, you know.
Thank you.
Something that was very surprising along that note also was last year you went to Bible school.
Oh
I saw you were posting.
Dude, if you told me this like 5 years ago, I'd laugh at your face. Really.
I completely can't even tell you this 5 years ago because I'm like, what is Rui En doing in Bible school? I bet everyone asks you, is it going to be Pastor Rui En? Or what's going on?
But those are more the people who don't really understand the thing. Yeah.
So... Okay. Actually, we should backtrack before Bible school.
Okay, what to what?
Okay, you're very open about sharing your faith. Yeah. You unabashedly just like, you know, share very authentically about your faith. Have you always been a person of faith?
If I'm unabashed about everything else, how can I be reserved about my faith? It makes no sense. But yet, I don't know, there's some kind of conditioning that makes us very paiseh.
So here, boy paiseh one, please.
I didn't plan to be lah.
Yeah. Wilder Seas.
There was no plan to be.
Yeah.
But so let's go back again.
Okay.
Wow, back forth. Very tiring. The multiverse is very...
Your username very apt leh.
What?
Because Wilder Seas ma, up and down, back and
up and down, back and forth, then want to puke already.
Okay, yes, go back a bit.
Okay, yeah.
You grew up a Christian ah?
I was baptized as a child.
Okay.
I was brought to church and forced to attend Sunday school and forced to get baptized. And I really didn't like it lah at that point. I did not connect. I really...
Plus angsty.
Plus, maybe that time not yet angsty.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I am generally a person that you should not try to force me to do anything because I will do the exact opposite, like just to spite you. It's ridiculous.
Big confessions here, ladies and gentlemen.
There's that whole rebel thing.
Yeah.
And I never connected. I was baptized. And then the minute I started working and had a little bit of independence, you know, I pulled away from it. But I grew up basically in church.
Okay.
So that period of like independence and then pulling away from church was just basically backsliding completely, because I think that, when you are out there working and the most important person on your mind is yourself and your own career, there isn't any space for God. There isn't any space for anything else. And so that went on for majority of my life. Backslid, and just basically there were moments of like, okay, I think maybe I need God now. Maybe I can't already. Or maybe I got it wrong. I don't think I can do this anymore on my own. There were these moments. But I finally came back to the faith about 7+ years ago, because I had finally reached that point of like, I can't do this on my own.
How do you reach the point?
Wow. It was just a downward descent. It was just a downward spiral
Okay.
of, I think, I'm ultra independent because of the way I was brought up. I'm ultra like, I need to take care of myself. And then it got to a point where I realized that I couldn't. And I was carrying too much. And that was a point where I was just like, look, I can't do this anymore on my own. For this, I'm stubborn. I'm very I've got very strong survival instincts. It tends to come to a rock bottom of like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Then I come back to the faith. And so actually I would consider my real faith journey actually only to have started like 7 years ago, because that's when I came back and I was like, okay, how do I do this properly? How do I do this and how do I move forward?
So how did you do this?
Wow. No, I mean, I just basically came back to church, tried to find a community, which I found so far. I visited a couple of churches, and then have found a community in a church that is very comfortable for me, because it's a church that I would call quite an activist kind of a church, which resonates with me. Because I like going out there and doing things,
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful so far. But for someone as stubborn and as like survival instinct as me, it really did take a lot to actually get me to go, okay, maybe God has a better answer. Maybe God has a better plan for me than myself, because it's like my own plans have just not worked out,
What about God and Christianity made sense to you? Sometimes I think it all doesn't make sense.
Okay, no, yes, sometimes
Right.
it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But I think that I've always had a certainty that there was something bigger than me.
Yeah.
And there's something bigger than me had my good interest at heart. And I would feel that presence on different occasions at rare intervals, right? It's just that it resonates with this knowing inside of me that there is something bigger than me that has been taking care of me all this while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that.
In my Christian journey, right,
Yeah.
a lot of the childhood issues had to be addressed by God. And
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
how was that experience for you? Did you experience like, I don't know, God healing you, speaking to you, correcting you about some of these things?
I think that God is very interested in our healing, because I think that He sees all of these unnecessary burdens that we take upon ourselves that actually we can be free of if we know how to be free of them. And so my whole healing thing has been with God, with inner healing. And it's funny because I've questioned before, actually, is it, human ego is that we question, is it because you want me to go and speak in this church, then you want me to go and sing in that one, then you want me to what? But no leh.
Yeah. Wow.
God has a million more Rui Ens leh.
Wow.
Okay? He doesn't want us. He doesn't need us to be on those platforms and shouting about God. He doesn't, because there's so many more people. But He's very, very interested in our healing because we're carrying so much more than we don't need to.
Wow. I love that. I love that because I think it's so ingrained in our society that we always think that we have to exist to be used and to do things. But actually,
So like transactional.
yeah. But actually, that's
Well, the world is transactional.
yeah.
But God isn't, you see.
Yeah.
So because, you see, I went out into the wilderness and I came back, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like an opposite for me, which is where I need to take away all of these things, right? And so this transactional thing was actually very high up. But I really didn't know that you were like head of worship, man.
Eh,
No, not head of worship. What is it?
A lot of my viewers probably don't know either.
But when I found out, I was like, wow,
I've been a worship leader since I was a teenager. Yeah, it's just something like since young when I went to church, I just knew when I grew up I will be a worship leader.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it just when I left church and then I came back. I only came back at 15, but when I did, I had the opportunity to like lead worship, and that's how I started. But you're so right. So even in that realm of like, now I'm a YouTuber, I'm a whatever.
Yeah.
You always think that it's because there is stuff for me to do. But actually,
Sometimes we have to get over ourselves.
totally,
We are not that important.
totally, and the
We
fact
are not that important.
and the fact is, right, actually I'm just so comforted that like what you said, God's interested in my healing, my well-being,
Totally.
and that's it, period.
Not
Yeah.
because he needs you.
Correct.
Or he needs to use you in some way,
Yeah.
So when you come back from the world, that's one of the things that I had to, this transactional nature, which is like, especially in this industry, is, hey, I do you this favor is because then later on, you're going to do back a favor for me.
So you have to unlearn this, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's so hard because it's suddenly like,
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything for him.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I interviewed Melvin, right, from Property Link
Property,
Brothers.
yeah.
He said that what made sense about Christianity to him was that, it's all the opposite, which is like, right.
The exact opposite of the world.
It's like, you are already like validated and approved, then you can go do the work.
You don't have to earn that validation.
Yeah.
Which is so like mind-blowing for me.
Yeah.
Because all my life I felt like I need to work for that. I need to earn that. And I need to try as hard as I can for that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly someone comes along like, hey, you're perfect the way you are. And you're like, what?
Okay, so how did you grow to accept this? Because this must be something that you also had to unlearn and put down, right?
Yes. Yes. I would say... So I've come back to the faith for about 7 years, and I think that going to Bible school was the thing that really like supercharged everything lah.
Perfect. I was just going to get right back there.
But it's really the truth lah.
Okay.
So the thing that I'm gonna reveal here, which I haven't revealed previously, was that actually I made the decision to go to Bible school because I was depressed. All the chaos and the just all the chaos that we were talking about of me trying to figure out social media, trying to figure out all the things that I've never had to care about before. It was just a lot of change in my life. I'm not good with change. I think human beings in general are not good with change. And so I was actually pretty depressed. And I was just in another rock bottom where I had tried so hard for so long to be strong. I tried so hard for so long to keep my head above the water. But I was like sinking underneath the water.
Yeah.
And people had brought up Bible school before. I always rolled my eyes at them. Or I wait until they don't see my eyes and I roll at them. Like I shouldn't be giving this away
Tips
now.
and
but
tricks.
I'm actually rolling my eyes inside one. I'm just like, this,
Like for what?
there's no way lah. Lo
and behold.
And I just, my previous leaders from my previous church had brought it up. My current leaders in the current church were bringing it up. And one day I was like, okay, well, I've got nothing to lose. I have to go. Because a big part of that depression was also being very confused about my identity. So now I'm managing myself, and then I'm not really doing much acting already. Then am I still an actor?
Yeah.
Like what is, I felt very unmoored. I felt very lost, like drifting in the ocean.
Yeah.
It was a very unsettling feeling.
Yeah. And how was that experience like?
Wow, dude, simply because I walked in with so much prejudice and it took...
Hey, thanks for admitting that. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of courage to just be like, hey, I'm not feeling it, man.
Yeah, because I was just like, look, these people must be very holy, ma. Like, they're probably pastors and everything. And I'm like, And so because I had this wall up, it took about 1 month
Okay.
for me to really get into the flow of things. But I did feel like God met me there
Okay. How so?
in many, many ways. Like he brought people to start me on inner healing.
Okay.
And this pastor was someone from Russia. She's actually gone back to Russia. She was a person like things like she would wake up with my face in her mind, and she would like send messages about, I think God is very interested in your healing, that kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
it kickstarted this whole like process of solving the identity crisis.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think at that point of time, it was the main question for me in my head was that, well, if I'm not acting so much anymore, who am I? I don't know. I didn't have an answer to that. And that was very, very scary. It was, at the beginning, it was actually very scary for me to even ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I knew I didn't have an answer. Yeah, so you asked about like how did God meet me there? I really, it was like a series of like happenings.
Yeah.
It was seeing some direct answers when we were like silence and solitude. It was just slowly just softening me up
Yeah.
for me to be able to receive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that what happened was that I left Bible school, and I was like, well, I'm not an actress, I'm not anything, but I am a child of God. And it sounds quite ridiculous that I needed to go so like all around to get this basically very simple answer, but it was something that had to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a long program, this Bible school thing.
3 months.
Oh,
3 months.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I literally, like, if I had not been so depressed, I really would not have.
Right.
And so it also
Interesting,
it also taught me that rock bottoms are something to be grateful for, because sometimes they really do push you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To find something
Yeah,
and
yeah.
push you to be uncomfortable again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were there any instances of healing that were particularly memorable during Bible school?
So I started on inner healing during my time there, and I kind of like went into it. I don't know whether people will understand what this is, but I'm
So
just
what is
gonna,
inner healing?
Inner healing.
If people don't know.
Wow, this one how to explain? I'm not
This one,
pastor.
okay, this one we ask our pastor to interject here. Pastor Norman
Inner healing is
is
okay. I don't know how to explain, but it's basically healing on a spiritual level.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
healing certain wounds and like vows that you've made on a spiritual level. That's probably the best way I can describe it.
That's the Bible school answer from Rui En herself. Very good, well done. No, yeah, I think that pretty much is
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
One thing that we did work on was that I have always felt ugly. I've never ever felt beautiful or attractive. And so in Bible school, the way that God brought that to my attention was that a friend texted me. And this friend quite liked to use all these funny words. And so she was like, beautiful. And I cringed, right? Like I saw that in the text and I cringed. And I was like, there's something wrong with that. There's something that's kind of weird. That's something I think,
Yeah.
right? And so the next time we had the inner healing, I brought this up, and we actually worked on this. Like, why is it that no matter what I'm wearing or how skinny I am, or no matter how good the hand makeup is, why is it I always feel ugly? And it's got a lot of links to childhood. It's got a lot of links with like maybe overhearing something that your parents say and sort of misinterpreting that, right? And then it becoming it's like set in stone in you.
Yeah.
And so we did the inner healing on this, and I kind of went in with zero expectations. Like I don't have expectations for this kind of thing. I'm just like, okay, Lord, we just try.
Yeah.
A short while later, I was reminded that actually I had been, like, it took a while for me to realize, but I had been set free from that. Yeah.
What does being set free from that look like?
That means I no longer cringe when someone calls me beautiful, or I no longer actually at the core of me feel ugly, which is something I carried around for a really long time.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I think people would not have expected that you're a model, you're an actress, you're public property for so many years, and all this. You mean you're saying all this while you
Yeah.
felt
At the core, yes. Very ugly. At the core of me.
when you watch a playback, when you watch yourself, or when you see yourself on magazines, you don't say like, oh, I look good here. You actually feel
There are some moments of like, oh, okay, I look quite good. But for some reason, my inner sort of like world and how I view myself is very not in sync
Yeah.
with what is on the outside.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just always feel like this ugly, small little girl. Yeah.
yeah. And so sometimes
It's bizarre, but
the healing comes when the wounds need to be addressed and then to be healed,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that now you can at least say, hey, I don't feel that way about myself anymore. Yeah,
Yes.
That's so good.
Okay, I need to give a disclaimer
Yes.
that it doesn't mean that if you just go for inner healing and then like everything
Yeah,
is
boom.
settled, it
Yeah,
doesn't work that
yeah.
way, right? It is healing actually is a process that I'm never going to stop till the day that I die, lah.
Correct.
Okay, and so sometimes it takes multiple sessions for that for that healing to come about.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't happen at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But I've just been on a process of
Yeah,
accelerated healing with God.
that's awesome. And I think this could be applied whether or not you are a Christian or not.
Yes,
You know what I mean? 'Cause
even with mental health,
yeah, like CBT takes time,
there's no such thing as you
Yeah.
go for one therapy session and then
It's done.
like you're done.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There is a lot of things to unlearn and it's a whole process. Yeah.
But to gain ground in it and to hear you say like, I felt ugly all my life and now I'm gaining ground
yeah.
to say that, this is not what I believe about myself anymore is so good to hear. And I think for a lot of people who are watching, they will also know that, this is possible. This could be possible for me.
It is.
I can heal
It
from this.
absolutely is.
Right?
Yes.
I can heal from my self-esteem issues. I can heal and move on. La. And what's interesting to me is that it's not the outside stuff that validates this healing. Because you can have 10 magazine covers that go like, oh, I look hot in this, or in this drama, whatever, hair and makeup. Everything's been, a lot of work you've done
Yes.
is outside.
Yes.
But actually the work that really mattered and that shifted everything was the inner, like you said, the inner healing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, I also have this theory that people that seek out entertainment industry,
Oh, I know where you're gonna.
actually we are quite, there is a element of low self-esteem
Yeah,
and low self-worth,
totally.
which we think
Yeah.
will be settled by public adoration,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, probably this is something that I probably really want to talk about.
Yeah. It was really that for me. Because I grew up in a single parent home, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of attention. Only
Actually,
child.
your story is really, I feel like I need to do one more interview where I interview you.
my
because
gosh, yeah.
I think your story is
idea.
very fascinating.
Thank you.
Because it's actually so much more complicated than what all of us are used to. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had to identify that actually my desire for fame, my desire to be known is because I just wanted somebody to listen to me, somebody to see me and to value me and to be proud of me.
Yeah.
So I went into the entertainment industry thinking like I was going like, hey, I seem to be good at this.
Yeah.
And then now I can make money off it.
Okay.
And then all my talents are this.
Yeah.
But I was very blessed to have community that gave me that love and attention apart from the media industry. So it helped me. Then by the time I became more well known,
Yes.
I was like, oh, I have all I need in this surrogate family.
What surrogate family is that?
My close friends.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I got a lot of attention from them. I feel seen and heard and loved by them.
Right.
That I don't need to use my platform to be to validate my self-esteem.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was very
That's unusual.
yeah, it was, and that's something I'm so thankful for because then the desire of like I need to use fame to increase my self-esteem or to medicate my self-worth, it naturally faded away because I had very good and close friends who really helped me feel seen, loved, and heard. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
because I grew up in a church community
Yes.
since 15.
Yes.
So they became like, hey, why nobody celebrate your birthday? Okay, we celebrate. and it's all these like small things that became like, hey, wow, okay, I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm loved,
Yeah.
and I don't need to use the media
Yeah.
as that for me.
I see.
Yeah, so that was helpful lah.
Understand,
That was helpful.
understand.
But I totally like, when we talked about this, I saw where it came from and what you say, like when a lot of media people, maybe we think that at the start, right? Okay, this is our way to feel seen, heard, and loved.
But it's really
Yeah.
not the answer, because it actually makes it worse.
Okay, why do you say
It
that?
actually makes it worse. So I mean, my theory is that a lot of us that come into showbiz, actually we just want to feel loved, right? We beyond seen, heard, and know, it's just
Yeah,
we're lacking that somehow.
yeah,
And we think that like public adoration is going to give us that.
yeah,
But actually, when we do get that, it's very hollow.
yeah,
And when you do get that, it becomes a situation of, oh, now how do I maintain this?
Yeah.
And ultimately, it is just feeding into that cycle of, I need to do and I need to be in order to get back love,
yeah,
right? But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case,
totally. Yeah.
you know? And so it
Yeah, I saw that come very prominently for you when in the
Yeah.
last,
Yeah.
not say last part, like the later part of your career,
Yeah, yeah.
where it'll be award season and you'll be like, you sort of, the interviews you gave and all that
Yeah.
really reflected that you took time to hold it in its rightful place rather than be like, wow, these awards are who I am and they affirm, my identity.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I never, but I will say that ultimately fame and popularity is not the answer to that.
Agree.
And by the time you find out,
Yeah.
it's too late.
Yeah.
Like you're in. And then you got to do more. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic.
No worries.
You got to do more in order to maintain what you have.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes this never-ending cycle of like
Yeah.
never being able to stop lah.
Yeah, so this is why I love to do interviews like this, is
Yeah.
because I think that there are lessons to be learned that you don't have to go through. When other people go through, really can really
think
go and-
so?
I think so. I know there's the rock bottom type, which is I need to experience it for myself, hit rock
Yeah,
bottom, then
yeah.
I will learn, which I get. But I also think that when other people have gone through the journey, there is wisdom that you can glean.
It's like shared wisdom.
Yeah, share wisdom. And I love that you say that, Lord, at in your 40s, you're able to say, I have all of these accomplishments, all these awards, all these accolades are what people know you for, and that's not the answer.
It's not. It really isn't.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
So you've used your platform to share very vulnerably about mental health, some of your own struggles. One or two of the topics that really resonated with me was when you talked about being softer, gentler, kinder on yourself. Okay. I think you talked about how you struggled with a lot of shaming voices. Yeah. So before we get to like, how do we get rid of the shaming voices, right? What for you were the shaming voices? I mean, you said one just now, which is, I am ugly. That's a big one.
So I previously would have like a running commentary in my head of everything that I did. Like, you shouldn't have said that. That was silly to say. Or, you look fat today. Or, you should have done better in that workout even, that kind of a thing. And it was only after it was something actually that I realized quite recently, over the past 7 years, that I have this in my head. And first you have to become aware, right? And then you have to realize that it's actually very unhealthy. And I had to look back at how did this start? Some of it has to do with my parents, which I probably won't go into here, but a lot of it was that, I felt that when I was young, I felt that that was a way to be successful, which is that, I know it sounds ridiculous, but to have a voice berating you all the time in your head about what
push
you're
you
not doing good enough.
And that will push you to success.
Exactly.
The tough love.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so it took having to sort of like being aware of this voice and then going, okay, this is not working anymore.
Yeah.
I can't live like that anymore. Like how? And like I will reiterate, it is a process, right? Watching one of my 90 seconds mental health reels is not going to solve everything.
Yeah.
Okay? There are suggestions on how you can move forward. But for me, a lot of it was the awareness was a very big part.
Yeah.
Because I would suddenly go, oh, I got that thought, but that's so harsh.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Like how I wouldn't even talk to anyone like that.
Wow. I love that.
The
yeah.
way that I talk to myself in my head.
Yeah.
How can it be?
Yeah.
Cannot be, ma.
Very good. And exactly what you shared, right? Which is, so instead of just listening to that voice now, you
Yes.
talk to your...
You have to talk back to
You
it.
talk back.
So the mirror exercise that I suggested,
Yeah.
okay, was suggested by a mentor. And when I first started doing it, it was so awkward.
What's the mirror exercise for those
The
who
mirror
don't know?
exercise is where you look yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes,
Mm.
and you go like, I'm so proud of you. It's literally how you would speak to a young child, which is, I'm so proud of you. You did so well today. Like you came and you talked to Aiken for a very long time.
1 hour plus now. Yeah.
1 hour plus. It's like not easy, like, good job. It's like how you would talk to a young child. It's basically inner child work.
Wow.
And you give yourself affirmation like that.
Even when you say it, I'm already like, I can feel the
Cringing, right?
resistance. I can feel the resistance.
Actually, when I first started, it was so awkward.
Okay.
But same thing, you just keep at it. It gets a bit easier. And so when you start talking back to that voice in your head, out aloud, I find when it's audible, it tends to be a bit louder than what's in your head.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you said that. Audible, because you sort of like physically manifested that
Yes. There's a physical sort of like,
yes, action.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a quote that you said in your reel that really stuck with me. You said, we can't shame ourselves into changing, but we can love ourselves to it. That was really good. And I think like for so many years, you've had this berating voice.
Yeah.
So now...
That I thought was
yeah.
pushing me towards excellence. Actually, it wasn't.
So now the process for you is, you know, sometimes your default is still, that's a harsh voice. You pick it up and you go like, wait, I won't even talk to somebody else like that. And then you...
You become aware of it. And then you go, I don't need to do that now.
Wow.
I don't need to do that anymore.
Ooh.
That doesn't serve me.
Ooh.
And how about let's look at the more positive aspects of it.
Yeah.
And very strangely, it slowly shifts. So like doing the mirror exercise, verbalizing,
Yeah.
which, okay, sounds very cringe, but who cares, right?
Yep.
Just do it and it just gets easier.
And if you feel cringe, remember Rui En did it first.
I did.
And
And I also cringed
yeah.
and I pushed through it.
Yeah.
You just have sometimes, just push through it.
Just push through it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Do you also struggle with that?
I struggle with that because my inner shaming voice is like, something's wrong with you. You're fat. Because I grew up being shamed a lot for being fat. So I was always the fat kid or the fat funny kid, you know. So I think that shaming voice and the don't make mistake. You cannot make mistake. But how I know I've gained ground for that is,
Yeah.
you know, this morning, one of my team members made a huge mistake. And I knew that the client was very, very unhappy. But then, you know, in the past, right, I would fixate on that and I would be so harsh to myself. I would be like, how could you do that? This is horrible work ethic. What are people going to
But
think
you
about
just said
you?
it was your team member that did it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they're gonna...
Oh,
you
it
know,
reflects on you.
It reflects on me. I'm the boss. I'm the brand, you know. It's my name or whatever lah. And there's so many ways that it actually was my fault also for overlooking this detail.
Okay.
But how I know I gained ground for it was that these thoughts did come up. But I remember there was a time where I would fixate. I'll be very anxious. I would think like, what are they thinking of me? They'll probably never want to work with me again. You know, blah, 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 blah. But this morning, I just went like, you know, I could be so forgiving to my teammate and said, this is a mistake. It's fine. When I
And I totally see you being very forgiving to that person.
Yeah.
I see it, right?
Yeah.
But why can't you do that with yourself?
Exactly. And then, but
That's ridiculous,
yeah. And then from there, I
right?
just thought, you know what? If I can be so gracious to her, I'm gonna not beat myself up, and I'm gonna let myself understand that, you know what? People make mistakes. If the client don't understand it, it's not me.
Yeah.
It was an honest mistake. That's it.
Yeah.
And I don't have to fixate on it. I don't have to beat myself up on it. If I had done that, I can't even do the interview with you because my mind would be thinking about, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think I also had to practice this process of going like, there's always this shame voice, there's always this anxious voice
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
very anxiety driven.
Yes.
And how can I reprogram that? Yeah.
Mm.
And it takes a lot of awareness, and it takes a lot of like,
The self-love journey is
Yeah.
not a fast one.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's not a fast one.
Yeah.
But
And I only
you can
started
get there.
2021. Yeah. Because
Oh, wow.
prior to that, I was on survival mode, although I was just working,
Yeah.
dealing with like my previous company's drama, all that. It was like emergency after emergency. Only 2021, I went like, I need to look at my life,
Oh, yeah.
my inner world,
Wow.
because I've gone through a lot and I'm carrying a lot. Yeah. So that was 2021
Wow.
till now. It's been the
But
process.
so much growth in like how you dealt with that thing in the morning.
Yeah.
right?
So I was very happy. I was like, you know what? I'm still going to go to this interview and I'm going to have a great time. It was a mistake. It's over. Period. And
Because you can't do anything about it, ma.
Correct, yeah.
Like the question you need to ask yourself is, would beating yourself up actually help anything?
Yeah.
No, it's already done.
yeah. And I
The
love,
mistake was already made.
like what you said, right? Like how can we be so
Like, how can we
generous
be
to
so nice to other people,
other people and so hard on ourselves?
and so like the opposite to ourselves?
Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
Exactly. So good. I really love that. And I'm going to keep remembering you can't shame yourself into change,
No,
but you
you
can
can't.
love yourself to it. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing that of course really resonated was the self-image, the weight issue thing that you shared about.
Yeah.
I think we've both been recipients as
Yes.
public figures.
We have.
And okay, so first of all, right, what are some of the your experiences with
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Must be crazy one.
It's just it's just beyond lah. I mean, I think that woke culture and cancel culture has changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's there are certain things that are no longer cool to say anymore.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the bulk of my career was
Yeah.
was actually earlier
Yes.
on, right? It can go into everything. Like literally, you know, I would have people saying to me like, "Hey, like, look, if you don't lose weight, you're not going to get any roles. If you don't lose weight, it's very hard for us to get this endorsement for you." It's actually, I would say that I'm still in the process of unlearning a lot of what it means to be a product. So when you're in the entertainment industry, and this is what I mean by you think that this is going to solve all your problems about feeling worthy, and it doesn't because it makes it worse.
Yeah.
In the entertainment industry, you're a product. Right from the beginning, when you are signed and people are like, okay, let's see what to do with her. Because you're a product, you're told what is wrong with you, right? Because they're putting money into this, they got to try their best to get as much returns. So from the moment that I was signed, you know, it was, oh, she has to lose weight, she has to do this, she has to, like Chinese, everything. It was not only like physical appearance, right?
And then if you were receiving it, right? So I mean, we are bound to nonetheless still be recipients of some of
Yeah,
these comments.
yeah.
How do you navigate that now?
To be very honest, it still bothers me. But I've learned, see, it's complicated. Because for me, people feel that, hey, you're a public figure, you're fair game. That's why they feel like, okay, wow, I can talk about her weight. Because the minute you're public, for some reason, people just feel like it's okay to yell. Like it's okay to be like rude. I guess I would remind myself that I'm actually very grateful that I have a body that is working and healthy.
Yeah.
Because I know too many others who don't have that privilege.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit cliched lah, but I feel like that's probably the best way to counter
Yeah.
that. I mean, I would voice, you know, I recently posted something about boundaries. I would voice and say, hey, look, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or that actually really affects me.
Yeah.
But as to how to process that comment, I got to go inside lah.
Yeah.
I got to go, look, like despite everything that I've put, you know, my body through,
Yeah.
I'm healthy today.
Yeah.
And that's all I have. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing and sharing so vulnerably on your platform. I think a lot of people are impacted and we really need to hear it. Yeah. So, closing questions.
Yeah.
Why you laugh?
No, I thought finish already.
Oh, no. Okay, like
Okay.
We go very deep, then we come back up.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's
So,
alright.
what is success to you now?
Absolutely nothing to do with material things. I think that you can have all the material things in the world. Yes, money makes life a little bit easier, but you can also feel very empty with all of those things. And that was my experience. And so success for me now is being of service to others.
Wow.
That's it. Like in whatever way that is, whether or not it's my mental health reels, whether it's doing volunteer work, whether it's like doing this
Yeah.
and sort of sharing about faith.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about me. It shouldn't be about me already lah. Yeah, that to me that's success.
I love that. Hey, and I wanted to, I also didn't put this in the script, but I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
That leads me to your bakwa endeavor.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats.
Let's suddenly talk about bakwa.
No,
You're
because
so
when
weird.
you talked about being of service to others,
yes.
I immediately recalled one of my favorite campaigns and one of your like initiatives that you did.
Yeah.
Was that?
Oh.
How did that whole thing? So, in case y'all don't know, guys, Rui En started. You share
A
lah. You share.
pop-up bakwa sale. And how that started was like a friend that had been in F&B, had some experience in F&B, just came up to me and was like, hey, come, let's do a pop-up sale for Chinese New Year and see how it goes.
And all the proceeds, though, it went to?
Portion.
Oh, portion. Okay.
Portion of the
Yeah,
proceeds, not all, because
Okay.
then we...
Of course, you need to make the bakwa and all that.
we still need to eat.
Correct. Yeah, the portion of the proceeds.
Portion of the proceeds goes to special needs kids ministry run by my church. And yeah, I mean, I'm in my like try new things era ma. I'm kind of like in my exploratory like
Yeah.
take no prisoners era, and so I was like, okay, why not? And then some of the money can go back to the special needs ministry. Why not?
It was great.
Was it?
Yeah, I love the laksa one.
So that's where we made a mistake.
Huh?
Because I thought that no one would want to buy laksa.
And that's the one that sold out, right?
Yeah. And everyone loved the laksa. Because I'm you're so confused. I'm very purist when it comes to food.
Oh,
So
so you're like, how dare you make
Like
a laksa?
fusion, what kind of nonsense, right? And it turned out to be more popular than
Right.
yeah.
The apple.
So I know nothing about F&B.
Hey, well done though.
Oh, thank you.
So are we gonna collab on that?
Yes.
Because you offered. No, I'm kidding. I put her on the spot. Wait, and thank you so much for doing this. Really, really.
I've had the best time because I feel like I can really talk without worrying about it getting
90
taken out of context or sort of like, pieced together in
How
a
you
very...
know we're not gonna put the title
then
as
I will.
Rui En hasn't found her emotionally... I'm just kidding lah. I'm just kidding. No, but really...
No lah. I'm very grateful that I knew that I would feel comfortable speaking to you, and I've always felt like there were some things that's very difficult to squeeze into 90-second reel lah.
Yay! So
Yeah.
here we have like as long as we want. Yeah, thank you so much, Rui En. I'm sure
Thank
we'll
you
get
so
to do
much.
this again.
I hope so.
I think you have a lot of wisdom to share. But in the meantime, guys, either way, I think you're sharing a lot of golden nuggets
Thank
on
you.
your
Yeah.
platforms already. And
Thank
thank you for
you.
your journey. Thank you for being authentic, for being vulnerable. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, everybody.
All right, done.
Bye.